Welcome back, guys. Here we will try to understand what does mean by exception handling and how this exception handling works. So first we'll try to understand with the diagram so that when I will start actual coding it will be very easy for you. So in last video I was talking about what happens when there is exceptions handling in your program. Now you know that when you have exceptions in your program, the exceptions can be of multiple types, right? It depends on what kind of exceptions you are getting that. Now if you look at the diagram, I have told you the exception is the super class of all runtime exceptions or compile time exceptions, right? When we say it is a super class, which means there could be multiple child class for the exceptions. Now let's say when there is exceptions in your program and you want to handle the exceptions based on the type of exceptions. If you remember my previous diagram when I was talking about, I said when you get exceptions you will get the type of the exceptions. Now you have a requirement where you need to handle the exceptions based on the type. So when you have to handle based on the type, which you can see it here, arithmetic exceptions, this is the type of exceptions. So what you have to do when you are handling the exceptions, and when there is exceptions here, you can write multiple handler, you can write multiple catch block. This is handle number 1 when there is exceptions A. When there is exceptions of type A, this is the handler. When there is exceptions of type B, this is the handler. When there is exceptions of type C, this is the handler, right? How this will help you? Why can't we just write exceptions and do the work? The reason is whenever you work for any project, every exceptions handling need to be handled in the different way, because there are certain tasks, there are certain activity you need to perform based on the type of the exceptions. When there is arithmetic exceptions, my requirement is different. When there is a add index out of bound exceptions, my requirement is different. When there is a null pointer exceptions, my requirement is different, right? And when there is a let's say out of bound exceptions, or let's say class cast exceptions, my requirement is different, right? That is the reason we write multiple handler for the exceptions. We don't write one handler. If you look at in reality, whenever we work for any project, you look at example of any project, we don't just write catch exceptions. No, we'll have a specific handler, because when you have the specific handler, you can throw based on what you want to throw, right? Let's say in case of arithmetic exceptions, I want to throw something else. In case of add index out of bound, I want to throw something else. In case of, let's say, class not found exceptions, I want to throw something else. That can be achieved only when if you have multiple handler in your exceptions class. When you have designed multiple handler in your method, exceptions handler method, then only you can do that. So that's how you can do that. You can write a multiple handler. Now we will see that how this multiple handler we can write, and how this will be helpful, which we'll see that going forward through the program. Now before going to next video, I would like to tell you something else, so which I missed. So whatever runtime exceptions you are seeing that, right, runtime exceptions, we call it as unchecked exceptions. We call it as unchecked exceptions, which means this you will not come to know at compile time, you will come to know only at runtime. But these exceptions, whatever you are seeing that, we call it as checked exceptions. The checked exceptions means compiler itself will throw the exceptions. It will give you the compile time error saying that these exceptions will come. So this we call it as checked exceptions, whereas this we call it as unchecked exceptions, right? And this is the error which you know that error again you will get only at the runtime, right? Error you will never get at the compile time, you will always get at the runtime. Here like assertion error, you can add it here, assertion error, which all you will get at the runtime. Now as I said, runtime extends exceptions, exception extends throwable, and you know that always whenever there is any class, this guy extends object, which is the super class, right? This guy extends object. Now this every class, if you look at here, either exceptions or throwable, it has certain method which is given by your Java development kit, right? So there are ready-made methods which is given to us, which we can use based on our requirement, which we'll see that going forward, like how these classes will help us, how the method present in the classes will help us. We'll go into very details going forward. Thank you guys, thank you for watching this.